Very few indie projects dare to dream as big as Beta Decay. From its sprawling, faction-driven conflicts to its promise of seamlessly blending multiple genres, this game wants to be everything. On paper, it reads like the ultimate sci-fi sandbox, a place where players can forge their own path in a living, breathing dystopian universe. But I'm a little skeptical of their vast ambition. Odds are likely that it will collapse under its own weight, but I really want to believe. Beta Decay is set in the Alpha Centauri star system, the site of humanity's first major interstellar colonization effort following the development of positronic propulsion technology. This new frontier has turned into a society on the brink of collapse. The atmosphere is steeped in classic cyberpunk tropes, defined by the developer with the phrase, high-tech, low-life. This is a world where advanced technologies like cybernetic enhancements and nanotechnology have become commonplace, and yet the quality of life and society as a whole are in a state of degradation. The game's world is designed to reflect this. Players will explore vast, labyrinthian cityscapes, drenched in neon lights and filled with dense crowds, dominated by towering megastructures. At the heart of Beta Decay's ambition are three distinct and competing types of organizations. These entities are the primary driver for the emergent gameplay that Rotoscope Studios is attempting to achieve, creating a dynamic and self-sustaining conflict loop that generates missions, economic activity, and territorial disputes for the player to engage with. These groups are defined by unique philosophies and industrial specializations, creating a web of dynamic dependencies. Factions and divisions. These groups present themselves as forces for social good, seeking to establish equity and justice throughout the star system. Their sphere of influence is primarily in the industrial districts, where they oversee core industries like mining, terraforming, space exploration, and transport and logistics. Corporations and conglomerates. These entities are driven by a singular goal: revenue growth through innovation and expansion by any means necessary. They dominate the commercial and financial districts of the city. Their primary industries are on the cutting edge of technology, including cybernetics, nanotechnology, science, and medicine. Cells and syndicates. These clandestine organizations thrive in the power vacuums left by the other two groups, succeeding on the absence of policy and a standardized government. Their agents are described as combat-hardened and are feared by ordinary citizens. They operate out of the residential districts and specialize in industries that exist in gray and black markets: contracting services, security, transport and logistics, and weapons. The gameplay of Beta Decay is its most ambitious and defining aspect, incorporating a complex fusion of mechanics from numerous genres. The developer's stated philosophy is to provide players with a sandbox of systems and let them create their own experiences. At its core, Beta Decay is designed as a platform for player agency. The developer wants to make a game that provides a framework of features within a specific setting with the goal of enabling players' imagination. This philosophy is a hallmark of both sandbox RPGs and immersive sims. There is no single linear path. The core principle is that players may go where they like, when they like, doing whatever they like. This freedom begins in character creation. Players can customize their physical appearance, including their face and hair, as well as their outfits and armor to suit their preferred playstyle. This customization extends beyond cosmetic, delving into the transhumanist themes of its cyberpunk setting. Cybernetic enhancements and nanotechnology have become common commodities, suggesting that players will be able to fundamentally alter their characters' capabilities through technological augmentation. The role-playing is intended to be defined by action rather than pre-selected classes. Beta Decay promises a vast spectrum of possible roles, from a humble engineer repairing spaceships to a janitor cleaning up the streets, to a powerful syndicate leader executing raids, or a mech pilot commanding a war machine on the battlefield. Your profession is an emergent property of your skills, equipment, and allegiances. Furthering this sense of agency, players are not forced to be lone wolves. The game will include a system for recruiting NPC companions, who can then be used to issue orders via command system. Imagine forming a landing crew for planetary exploration, or a security detail to patrol territory. To counterbalance the player's freedom, the world of Beta Decay is designed to be exceptionally harsh and dangerous, incorporating strong elements from the survival and roguelike genres. Permadeath is a key feature of the game, a design choice that dramatically raises the stakes for every encounter and decision. Beyond combat, the environment itself is also a threat. When exploring alien worlds, players must practice caution and avoid unnecessary risks. These planets are home to indigenous hostile creatures, but also harbor more insidious dangers like strange, physics-defying phenomenon or anomalies. This focus on environmental hazards and strange phenomena draws strong parallels to games like Stalker, reinforcing the game's oppressive and unpredictable atmosphere. Combat in Beta Decay is designed to be both tactical and visceral. Players can seamlessly switch between first-person and third-person perspectives, allowing them to choose between the immersion of a first-person view or the situational awareness of a third-person one. A standout feature of the game is the implementation of mobile combat vehicles, or MCVs, the game's version of mechs. The design philosophy here heavily leans on immersive simulation. Rather than simply pressing a button to enter, players must physically climb into the cockpit and interact with the detailed interior, flipping mechanical switches and using physical controls to operate the machine. Once operational, these MCVs are formidable weapons platforms, equipped with miniguns, lock-on heat-seeking missiles, and flares to counter incoming rockets. The developer plans to allow deep customization of MCVs later in development, including the ability to change core components like the torsos, legs, and weapon systems. Beyond the moment-to-moment survival and combat, Beta Decay aims for a macro-level simulation of a functioning society and economy. The game will feature a player-driven economy with two distinct layers. Players can trade physical products in street-level shops or engage in high finance by buying and selling digital securities on the Centauri exchange. This system, combined with the factional control of industrial and commercial districts, creates the potential for a complex economic metagame. But the pinnacle of Rotoscope's ambition is their desire to add space travel and a starship construction system. Players will be able to build their own spacecraft from the ground up, managing intricate and interdependent subsystems. This includes power grids to route energy, server networks for computational tasks, and life support systems essential to keep the crew alive during deep space voyages. This feature is part of the long-term vision of the game, and is slated for implementation later in the early access period, once the core ground-based loops have been established. As I'm sure you've noticed, Beta Decay possesses a highly distinctive visual identity. The game employs a low-poly pixelated art style that deliberately invokes the aesthetics of video games from the 1990s and early 2000s, particularly the era from the Sony PlayStation and early PC 3D graphics. The developer describes this visual style with the Polish word estetyka, and it's clear the developer has an appreciation for the crunchy, low-polygon look of the 32-bit era. The development journey of Beta Decay has been one of steady progress and shifting timelines, typical for any ambitious indie project. The project officially began development in February of 2022. After a period of closed playtesting with a small group of patrons, the developer has since closed access, with the next publicly available version slated to be the game's early access debut on Steam. The studio has since announced the decision to fully implement multiplayer functionality for the early access launch, a significant expansion of the initial scope. Currently, Steam Early Access is slated for Q4 2025, which is just around the corner, though I should clarify that the developer has emphasized that no hard dates are set and that the game will continue to evolve. If Beta Decay can deliver on even half of what Rotoscope Studios is promising, I will be pleasantly surprised. Indie developers often redefine what's possible in a single, cohesive game world. The mix of emergent gameplay, factional intrigue, survival tension, and deep customization could keep me and many others hooked for years. Yet the sheer scale of its vision raises fair questions. Can such a small studio truly stitch all of these systems together without compromise? Will its complexity become a playground of possibilities, or a tangled mess of half-finished ideas? As early access approaches, one thing is certain: Beta Decay is aiming for the stars. Whether it reaches them or burns up on re-entry, it's a story I'm eager to see unfold.